Hello everyone! Pioneer and Apple here with the final part of Dark Gallifrey's Master. Part 3. Last time our cast were manipulated by the Master and spent their time torturing the injured girl, and at the end, Cylindra, disgusted with Gamara's actions or inactions, runs off and is seemingly killed by the Doctor. Sure, it's almost immediately shown to be bull, but it was a strong cliffhanger. Now so far, Master is probably the lowest rated for me out of the Dark Gallifrey line, but I do hope the ending is strong enough to surpass the last two. And will we finally learn what Dark Gallifrey is? I doubt it, so let's talk about the characters. First of all is Gamara, reprised by Claire Huckle. And the phasers have finally done their job. In the last parts I found myself annoyed with Gamara and her attitude, but here as she is forced by the Master to trap Olzel and face those actions, I really enjoyed her, and Claire Huckle, who I thought was performing well, really goes for it. This episode did the impossible of investing me properly in Gamara and then murking her. The other major protagonist especially of this episode would be Olzel, or who will be revealed as the Mind Shield, or who will be revealed as Mother Quiver. Olzel's arc of being abused and manipulated culminates horrifically, and thanks to torture from the Master becomes Mother Quiver, sent to exact revenge on the kids who created her. And both actors perform the role solidly. Her decline from the Mind Shield to Mother Quiver was done well, but I don't really like her ending. Sure, her fate that she shares with Gamara and Cylindra is one thing, but it's her flip-flopping that I don't appreciate. She's out for revenge, turns good, and while understandable that she'll revert when faced with her abuser, she strikes down two people who were about to get murdered anyway, so it just felt a little narratively pointless, I don't know. Either way, for the most part, written and performed greatly. Cylindra doesn't have much to do this time around, and when brought back is immediately killed, but narratively I suppose she fits well. And I can't say what little performance was allowed was negative. Now to one of the bigger roles, the inevitable Doctor cameo is brought to fruition with Paul McGann playing the 8th Doctor. And while he doesn't accomplish much, the performance was great as always, and the way he fits into the story explaining his seemingly attempted murder and backward speak were really interesting. And it's always great to see, or in this case here, a confrontation between 8 and the Bruce incarnation of the Master. Even if it's only in the 3rd act, it's still well done. The Master finally reappears in physical form, he manipulates Gamara pretty heavily and then forces Olzel to become Quiver. And just when she thinks she's free, he tracks her down, enslaves her, and kills her again. This Master is not only played as well as the Doctor by Eric Roberts, he finally gets to upgrade his manipulation to full-on evil torture mode, well showing off how much crueler the Master can be near this incarnation. And while a little annoying months apart, I appreciate the build-up to his physical appearance through all 3 episodes. The other characters from the Crash all appear in cameos showing their deaths and revivals, but I don't have much to say. They're interesting little vignettes, but I can't say I was astounded. Now into the story. Once again we get a nice recap, and starting where we left off, we get poetry from Paul McGann as he tells Gamara about Mother Quiver and that the Master is alive. Cylindra not actually injured, but just seemingly passing out. What a classic Doctor Who instant cliffhanger resolution. 8's story is a little different. Instead of Mother Quiver's past, he talks about the future, or really Gamara's present, that one day Mother Quiver will take her revenge on them. Him only able to talk briefly thanks to pushing a vortex manipulator, revealing this is the place she was born. But his connection too garbled to get much else out. Cylindra may be okay, but the Master decided now is the best time to send her back to Gallifrey, much to Gamara's rage. And the Master takes a real pleasure in getting Gamara all worked up at his antics. I can easily imagine his shit-eating grin.
Where is she?
Gamara, to what do I owe?
Where is she?
And which lovely lady are we talking about today?
Cylindra, you took her right out of my arms.
Did I? Are you sure?
So now with Gamara alone, she has no other choice but to do his bidding in finishing off Olzel's demise, and revealing even more disgusting and disturbing things that Tabreen did to earn her escape. Seriously, I hate that she's one of the ones that actually has a chance of surviving the Master by the end. Sure, Cylindra and kinda Borin are the only moral ones here, but it sucks that the cousins and Tabreen, while all the good or forced to do bad characters, Olzel, Cylindra and Gamara, are all unceremoniously gunned down. The Master tries many different angles to manipulate Gamara, not all of them working, but the pressure is enough to get her off her ass and over to Olzel, who is very concerned about her friends. Jesus, the performance in their confrontation is done so well. Gamara's turn to cruelty and desperation feels very real, and Olzel's manipulated and terrified disposition as Gamara forces her weakened and injured form thanks to Taurus is heartbreaking as Gamara assaults her and forces her into a small box to deliver to the Master. It might be one of the darkest parts of Dark Gallifrey in all honesty. Right up there with Morbius hijacking people's bodies and Seven burning to death. Gamara talks about arriving back on Gallifrey once her job was done, and of course it's Taurus and Tabreen that come around and fuck with her, putting fake memories in her head so no mind probing can uncover what actually happened to them. At this point in the story, the mind shield is fully spinning out, too much Olzel coming out when condemning Gamara's actions. We get more flashbacks after Gamara stuffs Olzel in her box, raging at the Master again, the Doctor even popping in so the two men can argue over Gamara's choice. The Master quickly flip-flopping between seemingly helpful to Gamara and yelling at her, eventually getting her to stop the Doctor's materialization. After hearing this, the Mind Shield suddenly starts testifying about Olzel and the Master, flashing back to Olzel being pulled out of the box, the real Olzel torture beginning as he lets her traumatized and scarred mind regenerate for the first time, him taking great pleasure out of her pain. And once it's done, he starts pontificating about regenerative dissonance, even mentioning the Six. And once she's done cooking, he takes great lengths into differentiating her personalities. The Master eventually able to control which mind is in control with a psychic bolt. And these clips are lengthy, but Eric Roberts' performance is enough to keep you interested the whole time over Olzel's pained screaming. He turns her into Mother Quiver, setting her on the path to what we already know happened, her hunting down those that betrayed her, but Olzel finally reveals herself, tossing the psychic bolt aside and taking great pleasure in making Gamara scared and throwing her around and revealing her plan. They go to Cylindra and reveal that the method that's keeping them all comatose is a special type of material in the Arrow. A psychic metal called mensalem, using Olzel's own tortured psyche to torture her victims while comatose. We get to hear the clips of Mother Quiver hunting the others down, putting them in the same condition as Cylindra, and she talks about how the Master had the whole thing planned solely to make Mother Quiver for his purposes. And just as things start to get hairy, the Doctor pops in, still a hologram as the area is shielded, and H reveals he's gone about removing her arrows, freeing Tabreen and the cousins, but also that Olzel in fact has no regenerative dissonance. It's only her, manipulated and traumatized by the Master, him using his abilities and way with words to make her believe she had multiple personalities. Which only makes this installment darker. Sure, it's revealed by the Time Lords here that the world they were on was a dark, dead Gallifrey, pre-prepared by the Master with traps and shields to stop the Doctor meddling. I still don't know how it works in relation to the last kind of dark Gallifrey we saw in the War Master. Is this Dark Gallifrey from D-Space? Is that version of Gallifrey the one that housed the Abomination, but since the Abomination was in the capital, they were just too far away? Or is this the Dark Gallifrey that Dark Gallifrey was an echo of? I just don't know. And at this point, I think I've given up trying to figure out what Dark Gallifrey actually is. Now, in this box set, sure, I don't like the whole phases thing, but I do think it's clever that at the end, the other characters like the Doctor hijack the narration. Ace drops some interesting dissonant lore, including a character named the Hydra, a pretty apt name, but his speech eventually turns Olzel more passive, ready to help free Cylindra and do the right thing. Gamara reveals that the visions of Ace stabbing people, he was in fact removing the arrows but in reverse. But as Olzel tries to see the Doctor again, the Master appears, his own shield covering the area now, so he forces Olzel to once again shoot Gamara and the new Cylindra with mensalem. All because the kids on that trip would one day in their future act against the Master. Him, in his poetic irony, having them create the weapon that kills them. Finally, the Doctor gets through the barrier right as the Master, fed up with the Doctor saving people, pulls out a blaster and kills them all right in front of him.
You think this is sport? Destroying minds, taking the lives of children? What was it all for?
What was it for? You don't stumble across a planet that breaks every rule you grew up with and then start to follow them. I had some fun.
Bringing them back to Gallifrey, flaunting their murders on home ground. The entire council will descend on this place.
The council? Every one of those precious rogue rats was guilty of murder.
Because of you.
The story ends with the two arguing and going 1v1 with Mensalem arrows. The fight is well done for audio, but of course, when the Master wins, he can't bring himself to finish the Master off. It sucks that most of our cast here are dead, but this reunion between 8 and the Bruce Master is really good, almost worth the price of admission. So the story comes to an abrupt end as the Master flees with his tail between his legs, the Doctor left among the corpses of the Master's victims. So while the ending as a whole is good from a third act perspective, and I love 8 and the Master's interactions, it is really disappointing that 8 seems to hijack the protagonist role, distracting the story when the shock and horror of all our decent main characters, especially Gamara and Olzel, who are at their most endearing, being murdered in front of us should be the focus. Now this overall is a very good story if it were in one story, but I can't really appreciate it as the 3 parts are so separated. If it were all one box set, I think it would get a 7 out of 10, but the way the stories are formatted and the way time has managed to separate those parts does make the issues I have with the first 2 more glaring. But this is a pretty solid finale, bringing everything together, and while a little off-putting from a narrative perspective, 8 coming in and having time with the Master is highly entertaining. I liked the choice of Master for this story. Sure, he's not the most manipulative we know, but I think Eric Roberts plays that side very well. And while it is of course named as his story, I like that Lizzie Hopley took one of her earlier ideas and essentially made this Dark Gallifrey Mother Quiver. I'll give Dark Gallifrey Master Part 3 an 8 out of 10. A strong and dark finish to a good story, that unfortunately failed to carry interest as well as the other full stories like Missy and Morbius. That leaves Dark Gallifrey Master with an average score of 7 out of 10, being on par with The War Master, sharing a disappointing start, but I think this story had a more consistent and easier to comprehend story, with a stronger ending from a tonal perspective. Where that story had great light-hearted comedy in the middle, this one goes for a much darker tone, and it seems we'll go back to comedic with the monks, which I can't wait for. Thank you everybody for watching my review of Dark Gallifrey Master Part 3. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you wish, consider subscribing to the channel if you do, ring the notification bell so you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.